Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Wealth After Work, the show designed to help you in and through your retirement. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and joining me in the studio, we have two members from ASC Financial Group. We have Ralph Grosso, he is the president and founder, and Taylor Munoz, senior advisor. We're so glad you're joining us today. The title of today's show is Paychecks and Playchecks, How to Secure Your Retirement Income. Ralph, Taylor, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today. How are you this week?
Great. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's really good and looking forward to a great show.
Oh, for sure. Well, this phrase, paychecks and playchecks, is one that gets used in our industry. And actually, it was coined by a man named Tom Hegna, who is an economist, an author, and really a retirement income expert. And I know that you have actually interacted with Tom, you have spent some time with him, and this is a really neat way to help people understand how to structure their income for their retirement. So it's going to be a good discussion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So this concept of paychecks and playchecks, it's simple but powerful. Can you define a little bit more in detail what those two phrases mean?
Sure. So at a broad level and put very simply, it's paychecks fund our needs.
Okay.
And playchecks fund our dreams. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it first starts with breaking down your essential income versus your discretionary income, right? We want to look at funding our needs, our regular needs, our expenses with our paychecks, and whatever is left over and what we want to work to do is exceed our needs and use our paycheck money for those things that we wanted to do in retirement, our dreams, the things that we didn't get to do while we were working, whether that's travel, spending time with grandchildren, hobbies, gifts for family, all those things that make retirement a little bit more fun.
Yes.
Those are the things that we want to focus on with our paychecks.
Now, I'm curious though, why do you feel it's important to put a distinguisher between those two types of income, the paychecks and the playchecks?
Yeah, so when someone retires, their paycheck ends, right? They're self-employed now.
Right.
So we have to look at how do we replace that paycheck? And really, when we look at that, we want to look at guaranteed sources like Social Security. We'll be talking a little bit more in depth about that, but Social Security and pensions and such. But what is going to take care of their needs? And then, as Taylor put, what's left over becomes our playchecks. And so what we do for folks, Kristen, is we do what's called a retirement income analysis. And when we do this income analysis, what it'll do is identify what their paycheck situation is going to be like. But more importantly, it's also going to show how to maximize income so that we can have some playchecks, because the playchecks is where it's fun.
Oh, for sure. And we want people to have fun in retirement, right?
There it is. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So we have these two different types. You know, I'm curious though, because I think one of the biggest questions and one of the biggest struggles folks may have is not knowing how much income they're going to need in retirement. So how do you go about helping someone figure that out?
Yeah. Well, I think for most folks that are listening, the key takeaway is that you don't have to go it alone. That's why you use an advisor to help you figure out what are your current expenses and what can you expect to be your expenses once you're in retirement. So really starts off with budgeting, coming up with a realistic budget. What are your fundamental needs month to month? That's our starting point. That's our essential needs. You know, as Ralph had talked about, yes, you're self-employed. You're no longer receiving a paycheck from an employer. We need to create that paycheck for you in retirement. And that's where we need to know at a base level, what do you need? And that's what we look to accomplish in developing that paycheck. And we want the paycheck to be secure. We want guaranteed income to cover our paychecks. We don't want our needs to be funded by the ups and the downs of the market. And that's where the retirement income analysis that we do really, it asks all the questions and lays out everything that we need as a baseline for determining what does our paycheck need to be. And then from there, we start looking at building up our income in order to meet our needs and then exceed that and go towards our paycheck.
Right. So it starts with knowing what you need. I think budget often gets a really bad connotation, but it's so empowering because once you know where your money's going, then you can tell it where you want it to go. I've also heard another term for a budget is a spending plan, right? That seems to have a nice ring to it as well.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of folks who are calculating or projecting what their basic needs and expenses might be in retirement when they're saying, I'm not there yet. So how do I even factor that in? How do I factor inflation into the equation? So how do you help folks figure that out?
Yeah, so we had a couple come in to see us from one of our educational events, and we do these educational events throughout the year. I want to encourage those that are listening to this program that if you would like to know more about our educational events, you can basically go onto our website, ascfinancialgroup.com. That's ascfinancialgroup.com. And you'll find on that site upcoming events that we'll do. And it's educational. We don't sell anything at these events. And we've gotten some great feedback. And so we had a couple went to that event, came in to see us for their retirement income analysis that we offer complimentary. And their question was, we don't think we can retire. And so as we put them through the process of that retirement income analysis, here's the beautiful thing. Not only could they retire now, but their dream, we talk about dreams with our clients, right? We were able to meet all of their needs, but their dream was to go to the West Coast, spend time, or actually live there with their daughter and grandchildren. And so we will be able to put together a plan for them through not only the paycheck, but the Playcheck, so that they could make that move to the West Coast, be with their daughter and son-in-law, be with their grandchildren. And so today, if you're watching this program and you're not sure whether you can even retire now, or if you're nearing retirement and in retirement and would like to see how can I get some additional income, I want you to pick up the phone, give us a call, and we can prepare this retirement income analysis for you, whereby you can see if there are shortfalls, how do we make up those shortfalls, and really at the end of the day, how can you have a plan, a retirement that's built to last? So pick up the phone, give us a call at the number you see on the screen, and we can get that process started.
Ralph Taylor, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call is 844-918-4867 to schedule your time to come in and receive your very own complimentary retirement income analysis. Or if you'd rather connect online, we've got you covered. If you simply pull out your smartphone, you can open up the camera app. Just point, click, and scan that QR code that you see there down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team from ASC Financial Group will reach out to connect with you to schedule your complimentary retirement income analysis that way as well. We've got a lot more to cover on today's show of Paychecks and Playchecks for your retirement. Stay with us.
So my passion stems from my parents. So when my dad retired in the early 90s, he didn't have a lot of money accumulated, but he had a house. My dad was conservative. He never was a risk taker. So he placed his money in the bank, in CDs, and he lived off the interest along with a small pension and his Social Security and my mom's Social Security. And I went and visited them back in '99. And when the CDs began to mature, we realized that the renewal rates were much lower. I said, okay, let me take a look at your accounts. What I found was my dad at the time was 72. He had the portfolio of a 41-year-old. You know, very high risk, aggressive growth. And so I did a retirement income analysis, and we put them into a plan that gave them a predictable, guaranteed income every month. My dad lived to 92, my mom lived to 89, and they had a really, really stress-free retirement because of that guaranteed income. And so I'm passionate that I want to do that same job, that same strategy for the clients that I work with today.
Welcome back to Wealth After Work. I'm Kristen Oakley here with both Ralph and Taylor from ASC Financial Group, which is serving all of Northeast Pennsylvania and Northwest New Jersey. And I was so glad that you all brought up your live events. You all are so busy. In addition to meeting with folks in the television show, you have live events throughout the area. And if you are interested in coming and meeting the team in person and attending one of these live events, we encourage you to visit the website, which is ascfinancialgroup.com. You can see the list of upcoming events in your area and pick which one would be the best option, right? So I know you love getting to meet folks in person. That's really fun.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking today about paychecks and playchecks and how to secure your retirement income. And now that we've defined what those two things are, it's time to start looking at the nitty-gritty of how you build each bucket of money, if you will. So let's start with someone's paychecks in retirement. For the folks that you work with, what are typically the main sources of guaranteed income that they have access to?
Yeah, so there are three key categories that we look at of guaranteed income to cover a retiree's paycheck. The first and most common category is Social Security, right? Everyone is entitled to Social Security. And Social Security, while it may not fund all of our expenses in retirement, it's a reliable and predictable income stream for retirees. And the other nice thing about Social Security is that the majority of years there's a COLA, right, a cost of living adjustment, which at least to some extent helps offset some of the impacts of inflation, right? Our dollar today, the purchasing power of our dollar today is not going to be the same as the purchasing power of our dollar in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, right?
Right.
So having some of that built-in cost of living adjustment is a powerful feature. And for most folks, Social Security on average nationwide represents as much as 40% on average of someone's income in retirement. And that's why it's so important to optimize and maximize a Social Security benefit and working with an advisor to help work through those different scenarios where we need to consider all the factors. What are your other retirement accounts? What do you have a pension? Do you have other IRAs, 401ks? We need to see how you're specifically situated in order to best advise on how to utilize and maximize that Social Security benefit. It's a powerful retirement asset for folks that sometimes goes overlooked when we talk about income in retirement.
Yeah, because it was never meant to be anyone's sole source of retirement income. It was meant to be a supplement and a safety net, but it's a huge piece of that retirement income puzzle for sure.
It is. And so now we're planning, again, we say we're planning not just to get to retirement, but we want to get through retirement, right? So we need to maximize those benefits and optimize them as much as possible.
Right.
The second category is pensions, right? And certainly within the private sector, there's fewer and fewer companies offering pensions or they're shifting away from pensions. However, we still work with a lot of folks that have a pension, especially if they work in some sort of a government industry or whether it's federal government, state government, or local, police officers, public school teachers. So there's still a number of folks that have pensions. And with a pension, it's so important. We always start from square one of maximizing joint income for married couples. So if you're married, it's so important to make sure that you've chosen the right distribution option for your pension because typically when the individual dies that has the pension, if they haven't chosen the right benefit, there could be a severe reduction or full elimination of that income for the surviving spouse in retirement.
Right.
And we look at all the options, whether it's the annuity option through the pension fund itself, or whether it's taking that out as a lump sum and taking control of your income, and that we have a lot of folks that want to investigate that option, and that's what we help them do. So pensions are another big piece of the equation.
So we've got Social Security, we've got pensions, and now?
And then the third category we have are annuities.
Okay.
Now, annuities are contracts with insurance companies that can provide guaranteed income and have a lifetime income with some powerful joint income benefits as well. And so for a lot of folks, it may make sense to consider, in this case, a fixed indexed annuity in the structure of your guaranteed income, especially when we look at Social Security and pensions And if there's a gap that needs to be filled, especially the indexed annuity provides a powerful tool to basically create your own personal pension.
Yes, and I love that term, a personal pension. You know, it's interesting when people tend to say, oh, maybe they have a negative connotation with annuities. It's important to remember that not all annuities are created equal. And when people say that, I'm always tickled to say, well, do you like Social Security? And they say, oh, I love my Social Security check, right? Do you like your pension? Oh, yeah, I love that. Well, guess what? That annuity can create that additional guaranteed income stream for you if it's the right kind, used in the right way. So
Exactly.
I'm glad you brought that up. Well, I'm curious, you know, when people are trying to figure out how much guaranteed income they might need, how do you go about helping folks figure that out? Is there a certain rule of thumb? You know, I think about emergency savings. There's a lot of rules of thumb out there about that. Does the same apply to how much guaranteed income they should have coming in?
Sure. Well, everything varies by individual. You know, so each circumstance is going to be unique. That's why we always start with our retirement income analysis. We want that we're going to look at all the factors that we need to look at to see how much income do you need in retirement. What are your retirement assets? What are your expenses, and what are the dreams that you're hoping to do, and the experiences you want to have while retired? So the amount of income that's sufficient for an individual is going to vary by person. What we really work to focus on, and as we help individuals navigate from the growth phase of their careers while working to the preservation and then ultimately distribution phase, taking monies from their retirement accounts, what we're trying to navigate towards is a focus on income. We are income first advisors.
Right.
And so when you open up your statement from your investment account in the mail or your retirement account, the total return that you get within that account is made up of two broad categories. One is growth, right? Or loss, depending on the year. So the market goes up, the market goes down. There's no guarantees.
Sure. Yep.
The other is income, and income comes in the form of your interest and dividends. That is much more known in the grand scheme of your return. And so we're trying to pivot towards maximizing the interest and dividends that you get and trying to live off of that in retirement and preserving principal. And there's an analogy that we use with folks that it's simple but effective, and we call it the chicken and the eggs analogy.
Okay.
So if you look at the chicken as the principal in your retirement portfolio, and the eggs as the income that your retirement portfolio produces in the form of interest and dividends.
Right.
If your chicken's producing enough eggs, you can just subsist on eating the eggs.
Right.
But if the chicken goes down in production, well, now you got to eat some chicken. And if you eat some chicken, then you get less eggs. And if you get less eggs, now you need to eat more chicken.
Yes.
And you're cannibalizing the chicken until there's no chicken and no eggs, no principal, no income.
That's not what we want, right?
Right. So that's the analogy that we use with folks. You know, one other analogy that's pretty powerful is the idea of if you retire with a piece of real estate, a home, there's basically two ways to make income off of that home. You either sell the property in the home, or you rent it out.
Right.
And if you sell the home, you're hopeful that the market's strong enough that you get the return that you wanted, that you outpace whatever you spend or pay off any debts.
Right.
But it's dependent on the housing market. If you rent out the home and you own the home and you're getting that consistent rental income each month,
right.
Do you care whether the value of your home goes up a little bit or down a little bit if you're getting that consistent income?
No.
And so that's a similar strategy that we work with folks to produce, where you're reliant more on that dependable, more known income stream, and you don't have to worry as much about the ups and downs of the market.
I always appreciate that you come to these shows with just not only your wealth of knowledge, but just great analogies that I think are really relatable for our viewers. So thank you for that. And I'm curious, Ralph, anything that you would add to that important discussion?
So understand that, you know, one of the phrases that I love that Tom Hegna talks about is you want to set yourself up in retirement to get a check. And you can spend that check if you know that next month you're getting another check.
Yes.
And then you can spend that because you know next month you're getting another check, right? And so it's what we call systematic guaranteed income. Predictable, certain, I know this is what's coming in, month in and month out. And honestly, the only vehicle out there that will provide for that is an annuity. So we had a couple that called into the show. They came in to see us, Jim and Marie. And so Jim had a great pension, very strong pension, which is unusual in these days.
Right.
and they had Social Security. Both him and Marie are collecting Social Security. Okay. And the income totaled about $57,000, and it met their paychecks and it met their playchecks. They were having a great life. Here's the problem. If something happened to Jim, that pension stopped. It was a single life pension. And then Social Security, when one spouse dies, the survivor gets the higher of the two.
Right.
Well, they would have lost $57,000 in income. And so now we have a problem.
Yep.
And so what we did is we've used an annuity to make up for the difference. But here's the thing, they didn't need it now. So we deferred it and we let it grow guaranteed. And with the guaranteed income in another 5 to 10 years, their income would be close to $70,000 a year. And so today, if you're not sure if you've got enough income coming in, how your pension works, will Social Security be enough? I want to encourage you to pick up the phone, give us a call at the number you see on the screen so that we can do an analysis for you, our retirement income analysis, and that way we can put a plan, a retirement that's built to last.
Wonderful. Ralph Taylor, thank you so much. That number to call is there on the bottom of your screen, 844-918-4867. Or again, you're welcome to scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. We've talked about covering your paychecks. Stay with us when we come back. We're going to dive into how to structure your Playchecks. Stay with us.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to Wealth After Work. I'm Kristen Oakley here with Ralph and Taylor from ASC Financial Group, and today we're discussing your paychecks and your playchecks, how to secure your retirement income. We spent a lot of time in the last segment talking about the paycheck portion. Let's talk about how to help folks have some fun and build their playchecks, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. So I think one of the top things folks need to be aware of are the tax considerations when structuring these playchecks. So talk about that.
Yeah, so you have to understand, we have to be very proactive. If we're maximizing income, we've got to be concerned that we're not putting someone in a higher tax bracket. So tax planning becomes critical in that. And we have to also understand that right now this government has a $36 trillion debt and growing by $1 trillion every 3 months. And that's a problem for retirees, particularly if you're dependent on a retirement account such as an IRA, 401k, and that's now giving you income. That income is going to be taxable. So the takeaway here is we want to be proactive in our tax planning and going through a tax analysis to make sure we're not put into a higher bracket and minimize those taxes along the way.
Right. So important to look at all these things from that comprehensive, holistic perspective that I know you do at ASC Financial Group. Anything you want to add, Taylor, to building someone's playchecks in particular?
Yeah, I mean, we really, at the end of the day, we also want to keep in account inflation, right? So we want some portion of our monies in something that helps us keep up or keep pace with inflation with some growth. So we're not saying no growth. We focus on income, but we also want some assets that help offset inflation. We also want folks to know they don't have to go it alone. We keep talking about this. You don't have to go it alone. It's this can be a complex process, but working with an advisor, with a fiduciary advisor, helps simplify the process for folks because we know the questions to ask to kind of get into the forensic side of planning for your specific situation. And the other thing I think a lot of folks don't understand or don't realize is that they've done a great job growing their nest egg, saving for retirement. They've been frugal. They've done an awesome job building up that nest egg. We often find ourselves as advisors having to help folks dream a little bit and actually understand that, hey, we saved this for retirement. Now we can go and actually spend some of it.
Let's
right?
enjoy it, right?
Not saying to be irresponsible with
Sure.
it, but saying this is the money that you have grown over time. You've done an awesome job compiling and building up in your accounts, but now's the time to also enjoy some of that and do the experiences that you've always wanted to do.
It's almost like you help give folks permission to say it's okay. When you have that solid plan, you could be confident that you can go ahead and spend that money and not run the risk of outliving your money, because that's, I think, what keeps a lot of people from wanting to spend, right?
Of course.
Well, I know we are coming to the end of today's show, but you guys always have such a treasure trove of great stories of folks you've been able to help. I know our viewers look forward to the stories that you share. So any stories stand out of someone you've been able to help navigate through and building their paychecks and playchecks?
Yeah, so actually we had a couple come to us recently. They became clients. They're from Easton. And when they came to us, they didn't know what their income picture was in retirement. They knew they had these IRAs. They had a small pension, but they didn't know what's my income picture? What am I going to have for my needs and to do what we actually want to do and enjoy in retirement?
Right.
And so we worked through our retirement income analysis with them, and we were able to put them into an income strategy and plan with them that both met their paycheck and their playcheck. Their big priority was, they said, look, we want to cover our expenses, and if there's something left over, what we'd really like to do is we'd like to spend a few months out of the year wintering down in Florida where the weather is warmer. We don't want to buy a place, but we want to be at least able to spend a few months there without worry about cost.
I don't blame them.
Right, I know.
Me too.
That Northeast Pennsylvania weather.
Yes,
but just without having to worry as much about cost and just know that we have the monies there to be able to do that.
Right.
And not only did the income strategy we put them in meet their needs, it also has been able to fund their wintering down in Florida for a few months out of the year. So, that's what's most gratifying for us, is putting those pieces together and really getting people, helping them realize what they want to do in retirement. So, so with that, we just say that if you're watching this today, if you're watching our program and you want that peace of mind in retirement that's brought to you by a consistent paycheck, but you also want to do all those experiences, those things you didn't get to do while working, that's going to be funded through your paycheck, reach out to us, call the number on the screen. We do this every day for folks. We're going to walk hand in hand with you and lead you through this process. Call the number on the screen or scan the QR code, and we'd love to work with you.
Wonderful. Taylor, Ralph, thank you so much. Always a joy to be with you. And thank you for joining us. Again, that number to call is 844-918-4867. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We look forward to being back with you next time here on Wealth After Work.